Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today, we are diving into something most men are too scared to admit they wonder about. Something that eats at your pride, your mind, and your very sense of control when it comes to women. If she reaches out, should you keep ignoring her? Right now, some of you are nodding because you've been there, watching the notifications, feeling the tiny flicker of hope, and wondering if responding will make you look weak or worse, desperate. Let me make one thing very clear. Women reaching out is not always what it seems. That sweet hey in your inbox, that sudden laugh on your post, that random DM that pops up after weeks of silence, it is a test. And the test is never about you. It's about her. It's about what she wants, how she feels, and whether she feels she's missing control. But here's the trap. Most men misread it. They panic. They jump in too fast, thinking they're the prize, when in reality, they've just walked straight into a psychological game. I know the instinct is real. You want to reply. You want to fix things, to feel wanted, to validate the tiny spark of connection. And that's not weakness. It's human. But let's be honest. Every time you respond out of fear, out of loneliness, or out of neediness, you are giving away power that was never meant to be hers. And the moment you hand over your power, you are no longer in control of the story. You are reacting. And in the realm of attraction, reacting is losing. Here's the brutal truth most men will never admit. Ignoring her doesn't make you cold. It makes you a man who values himself more than validation. It's not about playing games. It's about understanding dynamics that women themselves sometimes don't even realize. She reaches out because she wants to see if you notice her, if you care, if she still has the emotional pull she once had. And if you give it to her too fast, too easy, you've just confirmed something you never should have. You exist to serve her emotional needs, not the other way around. So, the question is not whether you should ignore her. The question is whether you can sit in your power and resist the urge to prove yourself. Can you hold space for your own worth? Can you become a man who is so magnetic, so anchored in his self-respect, that her reaching out is almost irrelevant to your inner peace? That is the game most men never even see. And here's the kicker. The ones who master it, they win not just women, but life itself. Now let's get real about why ignoring her is both terrifying and liberating at the same time. Men often confuse silence with rejection. They think, if I don't respond, I'm losing her. But the truth is, ignoring her doesn't mean losing. It means elevating yourself. Every message you choose not to send is a brick in the foundation of your self-respect. It's a declaration, silent but deafening. I am not here to fill your gaps. I am here to maintain my standards. Here's what most men don't understand. Women reach out when they sense uncertainty. They are testing whether the spark is still alive, whether they can provoke a reaction, whether they still hold power over you. And when you don't react the way she expects, when you don't feed the emotional hunger she is craving, you create something far more magnetic than any reply could offer. You create mystery. You create value. You create a man she wants to understand, not control. But make no mistake, ignoring her isn't easy. It triggers a primal tension, a pull in your chest that says, I want to respond. I want her. I need her approval. That tension, that is exactly why most men fail. They cave in because it's uncomfortable to hold boundaries, because society has drilled into you that being available is virtuous. And yet, in the realm of attraction and power, the opposite is true. Being unavailable, strategically, intentionally, is the path to respect, to desire, and to emotional dominance that most men will never achieve. Here's a secret most men will never admit. Women love a man who is self-contained, a man who doesn't panic when they reach out. She may try to provoke jealousy, test your loyalty, or trigger your ego. But a man who resists the pull and maintains his calm, confident, unshakable presence, that is the man who becomes unforgettable. That is the man who owns the dynamic without ever needing to say a word. So ask yourself, do you respond because you fear missing out? Or do you stay silent because you recognize your value? Every message you ignore is a quiet affirmation that your world does not revolve around her whims. It is the ultimate display of control, of masculine power, and of emotional intelligence. And here's the part most men never realize. She notices. She may not admit it. She may even try harder to pull you in. But deep down, she recognizes the difference between a man who is desperate and a man who is unshakable. Now, let's peel back the curtain on why she actually reaches out in the first place. Most men see a message pop up and think, "She wants me." But the truth is far more complicated and far more powerful than you realize. When a woman initiates contact after silence, it is almost never about genuine interest alone. It is about emotional calibration. She's checking if you are still the same man she felt drawn to, if you still hold your power, if she still matters, or if you have moved on. Think about it. Every reach out is a subtle test of boundaries. It's her way of measuring your emotional stability without ever saying a word. The timing, the tone, the wording, all of it is designed to provoke a reaction. And men, more often than not, fall into the trap of reacting too quickly, too emotionally, too visibly. That's why most men miss the bigger picture. They treat her outreach like an opportunity to secure attention, rather than a window into her mind and her emotional state. Here's the paradox. The less you respond, the more she notices you. Silence triggers curiosity, attraction, and respect simultaneously. She begins to wonder why you are not desperate for her validation, why you are not chasing, why you remain unshaken. And when she wonders, she invests, mentally, emotionally, subconsciously. That investment, my friend, is infinitely more valuable than any text, any like, any emoji you could send, because it is earned, not given freely. But let me be brutally honest. This is not about playing childish games. It's about understanding human behavior at a level most men never do. It's about mastering the subtle push and pull dynamics that govern attraction. It's about becoming a man who is aware of the psychological forces at play and who can harness them rather than fall victim to them. When you stop reacting to her every outreach, you reclaim your autonomy. You stop being a puppet of her whims and start being the architect of your own emotional world. And here's something very few men grasp. This isn't manipulation, it's awareness. It's recognizing that every human interaction carries power dynamics and that the one who understands them better is always in control. She reaches out not necessarily to win, but to test. And when you don't give her the reaction she expects, when you remain steady, confident, and self-contained, she experiences something rare. She experiences you, unshakable, unbothered, untouchable by games that once worked on you. So ask yourself honestly, do you see her reach out as a trap, a test, or an opportunity to elevate your power? The choice defines your trajectory, not just in dating, but in life itself. Now, let's talk about the hidden danger in responding too soon. Most men think a quick reply shows interest, that it proves they're confident, or that it keeps the connection alive. But in reality, responding immediately signals the opposite: neediness, dependence, and a lack of control. It's a subtle but unmistakable cue that your emotional state is tied to her actions. And trust me, women notice instantly, on a level that most men will never consciously understand. Think about it. Attraction is not built on attention alone. It's built on value, mystery, and presence. When you respond immediately, you sacrifice the very thing that makes you magnetic, your emotional independence. Suddenly the dynamic shifts. She no longer wonders about your value. She already knows she has it. You've given her confirmation without earning it, and that is the exact moment you lose the subtle edge that keeps her intrigued. There's another layer most men overlook: emotional fatigue. When you constantly react to her, when you chase every hey or double text, you deplete your energy, your focus, and your clarity. You begin to measure your worth by her responses, her attention, her moods. That is dangerous territory. Once your validation comes from her, you are no longer leading your life. You are following her script. And let me tell you, men who follow scripts are forgotten. Men who write their own rules are remembered. Here's the psychological truth few will admit. Women respect a man who respects himself, not a man who bends, twists, or races to prove that he cares. Your silence, your pause, your deliberate restraint, it communicates something words never could. It says, I am anchored. I am my own priority. I am not here to be anyone's emotional crutch. And the paradox? That is the very thing that draws her in. That is the magnetic pull most men spend years chasing, unknowingly sabotaging in every text they send. So ask yourself, are you replying to satisfy a fleeting need for attention? Or are you holding your ground, protecting your value, and mastering the dynamic? The choice defines not just how she sees you, but how you see yourself. Ignoring her, when done consciously, is not coldness. It's strategy. It's power. It's a declaration that your life, your energy, and your worth are not up for negotiation. The question every man must face is brutal. Do you respond out of fear, or do you resist and reclaim your power? Every decision like this builds the man you become, and the man she truly notices is the one who chooses himself first. Now let's flip the perspective and talk about the rare, but incredibly powerful moment when you do respond. Most men respond too soon, too often, and too emotionally. But there is a timing, a precision, a subtle art to responding that few ever master. When done correctly, your reply is not just a message. It is a statement, a declaration, a signal that you are in full control of the dynamic. Understand this. The moment you reply strategically, you are no longer reacting. You are dictating the rhythm, the tone, and the emotional intensity of the interaction. Every word you send carries weight, and every pause you take amplifies your presence. This is why men who master timing create obsession without trying, attraction without pleading, and curiosity without manipulation. Women notice a man who is deliberate. They notice a man whose energy is not easily swayed, and that is magnetic, practically irresistible. But here's the secret men rarely admit. It's not about what you say, it's about why you say it. You are no longer speaking to fill silence. You are speaking to assert your value, to maintain your boundaries, and to ensure that your attention is earned. A well-timed response communicates far more than any flurry of texts ever could. It says, I am selective. I am grounded. I am not here to be anyone's emotional filler. And in that subtle, almost imperceptible way, you shift the entire dynamic. Let me make one thing painfully clear. This is not a game for the faint-hearted. It requires discipline, patience, and awareness that most men never develop. It requires the ability to sit with discomfort without collapsing into instant gratification. It requires a deep understanding of human behavior, desire, and female psychology. Most men will never master it, which is why they remain stuck in cycles of chasing, over-texting, and frustration. But those who do, those who understand the delicate balance of silence and strategic engagement, they gain something far beyond attraction. They gain respect, power, and a sense of self that cannot be shaken by a single reach out. They transform the way women perceive them, and more importantly, they transform the way they perceive themselves. So, when she reaches out, the real question isn't whether you respond or not. The real question is, can you master the timing, the control, and the energy to respond in a way that elevates you, rather than diminishes you? Every man who fails this test settles for attention. Every man who passes this test earns desire. Now, let's uncover the hidden triggers that make her chase you harder, and why most men completely sabotage themselves without realizing it. You see, attraction is not about words. It's about energy, presence, and emotional architecture. When a woman reaches out, she's scanning for your emotional stability. She's testing boundaries, gauging confidence, and trying to measure your value. And most men? They fail instantly by reacting from need, fear, or impatience. Here's the brutal reality. Women are wired to notice imbalance. When you over-respond, over-explain, or over-validate, you signal that your emotional state is dependent on her actions. That's not attractive. That's not power. That's submission disguised as interest. And yet, countless men fall into this trap every day, thinking they're showing passion when they're actually broadcasting insecurity. The moment you understand this, you realize silence is more than a strategy. It's a trigger. Your quiet, steady, unshakable energy provokes curiosity, tension, and attraction all at once. She begins to wonder, why doesn't he care so much? Why doesn't he chase like the others? What is it about him that makes me think twice? That thought, that tiny flicker of intrigue, is what real power looks like. But there's another layer most men overlook: emotional scarcity. When you're selective with your attention, every response you give becomes valuable. It's no longer disposable. She begins to invest emotionally before you ever say a word. She starts to think about you in ways she never did before, because now she knows she can't control your availability. And let me tell you, women are addicted to that subtle tension, that ungraspable energy that signals independence, self-worth, and masculine authority. And here's the ultimate truth that most men will never admit. Mastering this dynamic is not about manipulation. It's about awareness. It's about understanding the psychological forces at play and choosing to rise above instinct, fear, and ego. Every man who resists the urge to react is creating a magnetic field around himself that draws women naturally, powerfully, and effortlessly. So ask yourself, when she reaches out, are you a man who reacts, or a man who commands the dynamic without a single desperate word? Because the choice is yours, and it defines your power, your presence, and your ability to be seen as the man she can't forget. Now, we arrive at the truth most men are too afraid to face. Ignoring her isn't about cruelty. It isn't about playing games. It's about mastery. Mastery of your mind, your emotions, and your energy. Every message you choose not to send, every moment you resist the urge to react, is a declaration that your value is non-negotiable. And that, my friend, is magnetic. That is power. That is the invisible force that makes her think about you long after she hits send. Understand this. Women are drawn to men who are anchored, who remain calm while the world tries to provoke them. When you ignore a reach out strategically, you are not punishing her. You are showing her a standard that few men have. You are showing her that your life, your time, and your energy are sacred. And paradoxically, this respect for yourself triggers something in her brain she can't resist: desire. Because women crave what is rare, what is unavailable, and what cannot be controlled. But here's the kicker. This isn't a tactic that guarantees results every time. It's a test of your discipline, your awareness, and your ability to sit in discomfort without losing yourself. The men who fail respond too quickly, over-text, or justify their need for attention, and they wonder why she drifts away. The men who pass, however, build intrigue, respect, and attraction effortlessly. And in doing so, they shift the dynamic from reaction to creation. They shape the relationship, the interaction, and the narrative entirely on their terms. So here's my challenge to you. The next time she reaches out, pause. Breathe. Assess your energy, your intention, and your desire to respond. Ask yourself this question: am I reacting to fill a void, or am I acting from my power? That single question is the difference between a man who is forgotten and a man who is unforgettable. That single choice separates those who chase from those who command. And before you leave this video, here's a little mental exercise for you. Imagine she reaches out again. Your emotional value is 10, hers is 5. If you ignore her once and then respond strategically, how does the dynamic shift? Solve it in your mind and drop your answer in the comments below. Like this video if you feel the power of restraint. Subscribe for more insights that most men will never hear. And share this with a friend who needs to learn that true attraction starts with self-respect.